course, right? Y'all tired of hearing about it in the news yet?
No.
Some of y'all, not everybody though. Isn't it interesting to know how the brother passes away, he gets murdered and gets elevated like real quick and is like everywhere, right? In media, that's called perception management. It's when they take something and make you think about it all the time. Take something and just put it in the forefront of your mind. Even though he's not the first person to be killed, right? He's not the first person that was doing good for the community to be killed, right? But I'm like literally asking questions. So they're like, I say, right? Y'all say, no, or whatever. Talk back to me, all right? All right, let me start from the beginning, Doc. So when I teach my class, I'm at Morgan State right now, by the way. But literally when I'm teaching, if I ask you a question, I want you to respond, all right?
All right.
And if you don't respond, I'm gonna get boring just like y'all being boring, all right? And we'll be here till 5 o'clock and I'll talk to y'all like the dry eyes guy. Y'all know who that is? It's the dude on those commercials and he talks just like this the entire time. Y'all see how that energy changed? Yeah. Try me. All right, so we're going in with Nipsey, all right? So this is the brother, Nipsey Hussle. The man, the myth, the legend. And all my slides aren't gonna be this word dense, but I'm gonna read this real quick just as an intro. Nipsey Hussle is a very complex man who is viewed through many lenses from a variety of perspectives, concluding with a diverse pool of judgments. First and perhaps most importantly, he is the son of an American African mother from Louisiana and Eritrean father. He was an active gang member, openly affiliated with the Rolling 60s. He is a hip-hop artist that made his name known not only for his lyricism and gangster persona, but also for his ingenious marketing and entrepreneurship. He made a buzz in the hip-hop world, most notably when he sold one of his mixtapes for an unprecedented $100. Fellow artists tipped their hats and gave Nipsey their respect, so much that Jay-Z sent him $10,000 to purchase 100 of them. He has made his mark as an entrepreneur by starting his Marathon clothing line, as well as the strip mall he purchased and housed his store in addition to several other businesses. His crowning entrepreneur glory is perhaps his Vector 90 project and the adjacent STEM program he started in the same building. Y'all heard about all of that stuff though, right? All right, so let's dive in. I want to approach Nipsey Hussle's death from 3 basic perspectives, all right? The road from the hip-hop culture, the road to and from gang life, and the road to and from being an African in America, all right? Yes, ma'am.
The previous summary, did you read that?
Yes, I did.
So I'm curious to know why you chose to say American.
Good question. So the question is, why do I say American African instead of African American? Very perceptive, my sister. I appreciate the question. So what happens is that, like, if you got a box of crayons, right, and if you got a blue-green crayon, what's the core color for that crayon?
Green.
Come on, English majors. Blue-green. So we got the green is the core. The blue is the accent on that. And so what I say is American African because the core is African, right? And the accent, the cultural overlay on all of us right now is American. So that's why I say it like that instead of African American. Calling us African Americans is like saying that we're American at our core. We just got like a little bit of African sprinkled in our melanin. And I'm like, nah, it's the other way around. You follow? Mm-hmm. Yes. Speak up, please.
But then you have to review it as not being like the accent of it and you want to identify it as the war African. Like that's why it's African.
Right. I get it. And I understand people who take that perspective, but I just deal strictly with the linguistics of it. It's an American African as opposed to an African American. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so I look at the cultural part of it, but at the core, that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah, but I do understand. I've heard people do that too. And then some people that challenge the whole thing. Say again?
No, I said like the way you said that because Native Americans are Americans, so the ones that are African American would actually be called African American.
Get it? I'm with y'all. So that's why I do that. Cool. Anything else? Yeah. Yep. Come on. We ain't gonna get through this today, Doc.
You capitalized man. To him, on man. Was that like another?
Tell me what in the write-up. Right there is a complex man. Yeah. And so you got this notion of manhood, right? And I'm not talking like manhood versus womanhood, but like human beingness. And the capital M is in my perspective, is the totality of the person, the mind, the body, and the soul, right? So that's the capital M man. So I'm talking about complex and totality, right? Good. I like questions, so keep them coming. So if I start rushing through some of these slides, don't be mad, all right? Because I at least want to get through the whole presentation before the end of class. All right, so the road to and from hip hop culture and music. That's Nip on stage right there. All right, so his hip hop persona was in line with his true life gangster involvement, right? So y'all know he presented himself as a gangster rapper. He was true to life gangster. He wasn't a studio gangster like some people are, right? He was bona fide, tried, tested, and true in them streets. He admitted that it wasn't his true nature though, right? But he had to adopt that persona because he grew up in South Central, so that's called survival, right? You know, like, so he admitted that his core nature was a good person. And that's what was shining through constantly and consistently. Although he had to be hardcore walking through those streets because people would test you, right? He talked often about like going in, like you go in jail, you got to represent where you from, and you got to stand tall and represent who and what you are because people are going to test you, right? And so he was trying to make himself untestable. And if he was being tested, like y'all do with Dr. Harrell's class, y'all make sure y'all study so y'all can pass that joint. Y'all follow? Mm-hmm. Yes, no?
Yep.
All right, so like many, he was growing and constantly evolving. But unlike many, he was very vocal about his growth. I like to call Nipsey, I like to look at him, and I say it again in another slide, but he reminds me of like Detroit Red morphing into Malcolm X. Y'all know who Detroit Red was? I just gave y'all a clue. Malcolm X. That's what he was called, right? When he was out running the streets, gambling, pimping, and a bunch of other stuff, right? So what you have is he was a product of his environment, just like Nipsey was a product of his environment. But he was evolving and growing at the same time, right? And so if Malcolm X or El Hajj Malik El-Shabazz would have been killed in prison, guess what we would have never saw? That evolution into El Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, right? Mm-hmm. But he was always genius and always brilliant, but he had a different set of tools and a different goal that he was working on. Y'all follow?
Yeah.
So I like to call myself refined hood, right? Because I don't lose where I'm from. I take it and I transform it and I allow for it to grow with me, right? And so I can go anywhere in the world, whether it's in West Africa, whether it's up at Oxford University in England, or whether it's down in the Caribbean or if it's Southeast DC, and I'm gonna carry myself the exact same way, right? Not trying to shy away, or in the halls of Howard University, I'm not gonna shy away from who and what I am. And that's what I saw in Nipsey. The thing about him is that he was very verbal and very vocal about his growth, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So his next album, I don't know if did y'all watch any of his interviews? He talked about his next album was going to be called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. Who's familiar with that book and that movie?
I didn't like it.
So you didn't like it?
I don't like this whole concept of the spook who sat by the door.
Oh,
Why
I'm
not?
from a totally different generation.
Why don't you like it?
Because I don't like the concept of spook.
Right. So what's the concept of spook? What does spook mean?
Spook means all of the negativity of how these racist oppressors thought about black people during the time when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm. And then I thought the spook. Okay, so spook in the sense that he was presenting himself as a federal agent. He actually went into the federal agency, and he was low key. And so Nipsey sees it pretty much the same way. He's presenting himself as a gangster, as a thug, as an enemy of his people. But in reality, he was wearing that persona so he can get close enough in order to share the insight and the knowledge that he was gaining. And so he was literally going to call his next album The Spook Who Sat by the Door for that reason. Because just like the brother in the movie, he was training in tactical maneuvers, right? He was specialized. He went through he went through CIA training, hand-to-hand combat, weapons training and all that. And then he went back to the community and set up a revolution. And that's what Nipsey said he was about. He started learning more and more about his purpose. All right, so then here's a quote from Nipsey. He said, see, it's a couple of niggas every generation that wasn't supposed to make it out, but they decoded the matrix. He said, when they get to speak, it's like a coded language. Reminds niggas of their strength and their stolen greatness. He was on his way, slowly but surely bringing it forward.